Hello there. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars peeking at our hands on. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob.
And today we are back with another episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy. This is episode 181. I believe this is 5 or 6 of the season.
The numbers keep on piling up. I don't know.
Let me check for a second. Yeah, this is episode 6 of season 22 of Star Wars in a Galaxy. We are back with 3 more episodes of Star Wars Rebels, Legends of the Lasat, The Call, and Homecoming. 3 very good episodes of Star Wars Rebels. Some may even call them great. I'm not gonna reveal my opinions too much on them off the bat, although I think I might have just done that accidentally. But still, I'm very excited to get into this episode. This is actually, Jacob, I don't think I told you about this. This is the last episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy this season where we are going to be watching 3 episodes.
Okay.
Due to the structure of the season, the next one will be 2, the one after that will be 2, and then we get to the finale, which is double length, which to me constitutes an episode. Although I guess we could technically I was going to say we could do 3 and 3 because it's a 2
quality over quantity.
But I was gonna say I want to leave Twilight of the Apprentice by itself. I don't want to clog it up.
I think we're gonna need a lot of time.
Which I think is actually why I made the decision I did, which is to leave Twilight of the Apprentice alone.
Very good call.
Yeah,
very good call.
But yeah, and we will also have a guest for that episode, so I think that's also why. But anyway, let's talk about Legends of Lasat, The Call, and Homecoming. I'm going to summarize Legends of Lasat, The Call, and Homecoming. We started the episode. Ezra Bridger has gotten a tip from a supposed contact of his, and so they travel back to Nixus, which is the space station, which is the planet on which Ezra went to in the episode Brothers of the Broken Horn. And Ezra and the Ghost crew quickly discover 2 Lasat imprisoned by the Empire named Shava and Gron. Zeb is stunned because he did not think there were any more Lasat out there. They both, as Zeb reunites with 2 more of his species who he thought were all genocided by the Empire quickly approaches, although the Ghost crew quickly takes whatever Imperial forces are sent after them out, but not before they manage to call for reinforcements. While they do so, Hondo reveals to have set the whole thing up, having called the Empire on them and then called Ezra just basically to make as much money as he could and to increase his beloved profit. They managed to escort Shava and Gron back to the Ghost through some Imperial turmoil. They managed to get them back to the Ghost, and Shava then reveals that she and Gron are on the way to the Lasat prophesized world of Lyra-San, which they have a whole prophecy about where Lyra-San can only be reached if the prophesized child saves the warrior and the fool. That's the way Lyra-San can be reached. So the Ghost crew get to try to jump out of the way of the Empire finding them. Zeb is reluctant because he doesn't believe in any of the old Lasat prophecies, but Ezra and him talk it out. And eventually Zeb is convinced to try using his bow rifle in accordance with the old ways. They manage to, through this old ritual, Zeb manages to create this massive blossom of electricity that points to a world deep in wild space. The rebels manage to approach a star cluster that is blocking Lyra-San, but Hondo put a tracker on the Ghost, which leads the Empire right to them. And there's this big gambit and game of cat and mouse between the rebels and the Empire. There's this big game of cat and mouse between the rebels and the Empire. Eventually, though, on blind faith alone, they managed to jump through to the other side of the nebula, at which point they find Lyra-San in the flesh. Zeb and Shava and Gron go down to Larasan, to which they find there are other Lasat there and that the species has not been completely wiped out. Agent Callus is incredibly frustrated by these developments, having been the one to be chasing down Zeb and the Ghost crew to completely exterminate the Lasat. But with their mission having been complete, Zeb vows to keep trying to find other Lasat in the galaxy and guide them to Larasan. In the call, the Ghost crew is running low on fuel. They're running really low on fuel, and they're trying to go towards a rumored gas refinery on an asteroid that refines valuable Clauson 36 gas. But they are intercepted by a flock of purgils, which are flying space whales that glide through the galaxy, just basically doing whatever the hell they want. Ezra forms a strong connection with these purgil and convinces Hera to try and fly with them instead of against them, even though the Ghost could be damaged by even a few purgil making the wrong moves around them. This works, and they get to this asteroid base, which is operated by the Mining Guild, which is overseen by the Empire, which the Empire oversees. The purgil, we learn, are causing a lot of problems for the Mining Guild base on this asteroid, specifically for an overseer named Yushin, who really hates the purgils and orders his inferiors to keep shooting at them to get them away or even potentially kill them. The rebels make a daring plan to rob the Mining Guild and try to power up the Ghost on the base itself. This plan quickly goes awry when the Mining Guild figures out what's happening, and Yushin sends a whole bunch of TIE fighters and Mining Guild soldiers and whole bunches of people after them. However, Ezra forms an incredibly strong bond with the purgil, one even saving him from completely falling off the platform into deep space and causing him to be able to survive in space without a helmet for a good few seconds. And ultimately, Ezra's connection with the purgil is what saves the day and allows the Ghost to be completely refueled as they jump off to hyperspace to rejoin the fleet. And finally, in Homecoming, the rebels are losing ships and pilots fast, and they need either a base or just somewhere to get more equipment and supplies and even potentially ships. So Commander Sato comes up with the idea of raiding an Imperial carrier. Unfortunately, this carrier is stationed above the world of Ryloth, which forces Hera to confront her father, whom she is estranged because of their different desires on how to fight the Empire. But eventually, Hera is convinced to go to Ryloth to form a plan to take the Imperial carrier. It has become clear that Cham Syndulla, her father, who we've, of course, seen before in both Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars The Bad Batch, has become consumed by his singular desire to free Ryloth of Imperial control, which causes him to be neglectful both of his daughter and the larger struggle for freedom throughout the galaxy. Although he and his two lieutenants, Gobi Glie and a grown-up Numa, who we saw in Star Wars The Clone Wars, seem to be at least a little bit agreeable with Hera and the Ghost Crew's plan, things quickly go south after both a heated argument that Cham has with Hera, and then when they get on the Imperial carrier, eventually Cham and Gobi and Numa betray the Ghost Crew, intending to instead blow up the Imperial carrier as a show of strength to Ryloth. This quickly de-escalates their plan. This quickly diffuses their plan and causes the Ghost Crew to be fractured, eventually joining back up together to force Gobi and Numa to surrender. Cham, however, is still stubborn and sticking out. However, while they've been bickering, the Empire had valuable time to send reinforcements after them. So they make an agreement for Cham to for Sabine to rig a TIE bomber, which then Cham flies remotely towards the Imperial reinforcements. It's some kind of, I think it's like an Arquitens cruiser or something like that, to blow up the Imperial cruiser that is reinforcements while guaranteeing the rebels the Imperial carrier. At which point, Hera and Cham reconcile, with Cham telling Hera he's proud of her, and the rebels gaining an Imperial carrier for the new base, with the end of the episode being that infamous shot of all of the Ghost crew standing together on the Imperial carrier that's often used. If you look up Star Wars Rebels Ghost Crew image, like that image at the end of Homecoming is used for a lot of stuff.
Let me know if it sounds bad again. Hopefully, it should be fine. I mean, the
Yeah.
janky camera handle notwithstanding, but
Where do you want to start with Legends of the Lasat?
gosh, that's a great question. I mean, I think obviously this is the first time that we're seeing, and the first time that Zeb is seeing, more importantly, his people still alive in the galaxy. He was operating under the assumption that he was the last one, that Agent Callus and the Empire had destroyed all the rest of his people when they destroyed Lasat. And I mean, obviously, what's interesting is that he's not particularly thrilled about this. Not at all. I mean, he really kind of seems more shocked than anything. And then obviously, he is not at all down with the idea of finding Lyrasan and sort of this prophesization and this mysticism that Chava and Gron are engaging in, which is understandable. But I think Ezra brings them to the refugees, and we find out.
Yeah, let's
I don't know.
before
What
we
what do
get
you
to
think
that,
about Zeb's reaction? Because I feel like that's what sort of stands out to me the most as a viewer, is sort of why when he now all of a sudden has hope that like there's a future for his people, why is he responding so negatively? Because he pretty much shuts that off and says there's no more, there's no hope. It's kind of like it's already finished.
well, I have
You
a
know?
bunch of things for that. I first want to just talk about it because I always want to make a point of this with the cold opens and cut to titles.
Yeah,
We get the reveal that the people that the rebels are rescuing are Lasat is the cold open, which I think is sensational. I think that's a great twist.
oh yeah, it's
Um,
awesome. It's
and
it's
I
an
think
it's an
and I
amazing
think
kind of just like what the fuck moment.
yeah, it's what you've touched upon is not since droids in distress really, but even then, like this is our really first Zeb centric episode of Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah,
That's what I think this season does so well, is that we're doing more character centric episodes of the main cast. We had a bunch of Ezra, like the show is Ezra centric, and then we've had a whole bunch of Kanan stuff, of course. But for the first time for the first time in the show this season, we've done Hera centric episodes and Zabine centric episodes and Zeb centric episodes, and we're going to even do Chopper centric episodes.
I mean
Of
every
course,
single
we
almost every single episode, like you said, of season two is, I think, as the show
and then of
transitions
course
to a longer
yeah, and then
season,
of
how they
course
keep it fresh and relevant, I think, is
yeah.
it's very, very character driven, as it should be.
Yes, and then of course that's not to mention when we have supporting characters. We have our Rex centric episodes. We have
Yeah,
our Vader centric episodes. We have our Hondo centric episodes. That's
yeah,
another thing this season's adding. But anyway, this is the Zeb centric episode, as we'll see. We'll see. Of course, the final one I'd argue of this episode is the Hera centric episode, pretty strongly.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
what I think is so interesting is, and we're told this a lot, and I'm interested to see if we could ever be shown this. Zeb survived the genocide. That's what happened.
Yeah,
I think Zeb is so weary about believing again because he believed his entire life. And then he survived a fucking genocide.
yeah. I mean, I
And
think he didn't just believe that was the reality. That was not
it was his
questioned.
life. That was
Because
his life.
why would you question that someone would try to wipe it? Like, that's obviously an insane evil thing that only the Empire would try to do in Star
Yeah,
Wars.
and which there's these lines later in the episode, which I guess I'll just jump to now. He says, "As captain of the honor guard, I was responsible for protecting the royal family and every single Lasat. Their safety was my duty. I was as good as
Yeah.
dead until Kanan found me." Now let's see that. Let's do. This is my pitch. We always talk about, like, this is a question I love asking people. If you could pitch a Tales of, what you do. And I've already talked about, we like when we did this episode on In a Galaxy for the first time, I talked about my Snoke Talzin combo of Tales of the Dark Side.
You sure did.
Here's my new pitch, and this doesn't replace
Yeah.
my old. Like, if I could do one, I'd still do Snoke Talzin. But here's another one: it's Tales of the Honorable Ones. Let's do 3 Zeb and 3 Callus. Let's see, because I want to see what Zeb's life was like on Lasan. Like, Zeb, to draw a real world comparison, it sounds like Zeb was basically the head of the Secret Service, basically, in American terms.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he says even
imagine,
more than that. He says he was responsible for the safety of every Lasat ultimately.
yeah,
So even greater than that, I think.
yeah, but the closest analog I think to our real world would be, like, in the United States, the head of the Secret Service. So
Yeah,
imagine the
sure.
head of the Secret Service if the entirety of America was wiped out.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about right here. Imagine
That
that
sounds like a
colossal weight of failure. It reminds me, I don't think it's been made a secret.
bad Harrison Ford movie. I'm sorry.
It sounds like another one of those Has Fallen movies, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. Independence Day
With
Part
Morgan
8.
Freeman or something like that. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. You're absolutely right. Like, I'm
But yeah,
thinking of
sorry,
I'm
continue,
thinking
continue. Yeah.
of like another analog, comparing it to another franchise I'm getting into more and more these days. I'm thinking of Zeb's burden, kind of like Thor's in Avengers Endgame after failing to stop Thanos. Like, that colossal weight of the entire world was up to me, like,
Yeah,
to
that is a
protect,
little bit
and I
yeah.
failed.
Yeah, that
Um
is actually a very good that is an apt comparison in many ways. Yeah.
And so I think that's why he doesn't want to believe again in just the
Yeah.
idea of more Lasat. What I think is so
Yeah.
funny about this episode, and I know people might find it weird that I say funny, but I think it is very funny because of the tropes of it. Because Zeb is always our non-believer when it comes to anything with the Force. But even when it comes to the Force applied to his own people, he's like, yeah, no, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I find
He's
that
just
very funny.
yeah, he and Han Solo, he and episode 4 Han Solo
They
would get
would.
along very well.
They absolutely would.
Pokey
Who knows? They
religion's
may
no
even
match for a good bow rifle. That's something he might
that's what
say,
we're
you know?
talking about. That's what we're
Um,
talking about. But anyway, about the Tales of the Honorable One, and then I'll hand it back to you. The Tales of the
yeah.
Honorable Ones, I think that would be really interesting. Like, again, seeing Zeb's life before, like, episode 1 of Zeb's could be life before, maybe even episode 2 too. Maybe episode 2 could, like, be like there's been some imperial aggression, and then 3 is the genocide, and then Kanan rescuing him. Like, I want to know, like, how that happened, like what went down specifically. Like, I want to see it. I think that'd be
Yeah,
really. I think that'd
absolutely.
give Zeb's arc in this show a lot more weight.
100%,
And
yeah.
then Callus's rising up the ranks of the Empire, and then I think it'd be interesting if the 3rd episode was also the genocide, because of course he
Mhm.
led it.
Yeah,
Um,
from his perspective,
from his perspective,
why did
the
he
third,
choose to do what he
yeah,
did?
short 3
Yeah.
would be the genocide of
Yeah.
Lasan from Zeb's perspective, and then short 6 would be the genocide of Lasan from Callus's perspective.
Yeah. So like what was it
Um,
like just him being personally
yeah,
deranged? What were the factors? Yeah, absolutely. That would
yeah,
be a lot of fun.
yeah,
That
it
would be
would
a lot
be.
of fun. I'd love to see
And
young
then,
Kanan too.
yeah,
Honestly, full
love
cow. I
young
want to see like
Kanan,
full cowboy Kanan.
full
Like
cowboy Kanan. Let's do it.
before Hera starts like making him
Or
less of
even
a dick sometimes.
or even like, because I was looking up how long it had been for something in research for this episode. I found out A New Dawn was 11 BBY. So imagine, like, the genocide of Lasad happens in like 10. So like
Yeah.
maybe it's kind of maybe so it's Kanan after he and Hera have met, but they've only spent a year together. So
Yeah.
like he's not as fully disciplined as he is even at the beginning of Rebels. He
Do
still
we
has a
yeah.
little of cowboy in him.
Do we have any kind of lore as of now of when the destruction of Lasat takes place, or is
That's
that
literally what I was looking
pure
up.
speculation?
7 BBY. 7
7
BBY.
BBY.
Okay, so that was
So
so that
wait,
so
is that only that's 2 to 3 years before this season is taking place, isn't it?
it's 4.
Or
It's 4. It's 3.
this season is 3 BBY.
No, this
Or
season
at this
switches
point it
over from
is.
4 to 3. Yeah,
Okay, so it's
at this
2.
point it's 3.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
no,
not that is a lot less
y-
time than I might have guessed given the way that this episode plays out.
yeah, no, you're right about that. I was actually shocked
Like
to
it
see.
kind of it reads like this is something that he's been sitting with
Yeah,
for years, and that means that Zeb was only a part of the crew for but a kind of two and
2
a half
years
ish years max before Spark
before
of the
Spark of
Rebellion,
Rebellion.
which is
Yeah.
also a bit
That is
surprising
interesting,
to me,
yeah. That
given
this is,
how
by the
it
way, the that is apparently Wikipedia cites the rise and fall of the Galactic Empire as by Dr. Chris Kempshall as the source for that, which I'm not saying that like the rise and fall of the Galactic Empire is a weird sort of thing with canonicity where I think it's probably like should be regarded as more canon than a reference book, but less canon than an actual story, in my opinion. So, like, could that be retconned? Yes, it could. Will it be retconned? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Like, should we like? I'm trying to say like, should we treat this with a grain of salt? Yeah, probably, but like, probably not more than a grain, unless like that was specifically dictated by Lucasfilm to Kremschall. Maybe I don't know. I'm trying to say like I think the siege of Lasan happened in 7 BBY asterisk. And that asterisk
yeah
is until somebody says it hasn't.
yeah fair enough.
Until somebody says it's earlier or later. But most likely earlier. Yeah, that's weird. I didn't think it was only 4 years ago. But still. Yeah, so but we also get introduced, which going back to the point we were talking about earlier, Shava introduces another version of the Force. We're talking about they're talking these little sots following the ways of the Ashla, where we'll talk
Yeah,
about which I think is actually fascinating because I think of Lasat as warrior people, and maybe that's just because of Zeb, but like I think of them as like pretty. Yeah. I looked at this. I'm looking on their Wikipedia page. Within the species, those with fighting skills were highly respected, and they were often members of the Lasan High Honor Guard, a group of
that tracks.
highly trained, highly intelligent warriors. And given that it's such a warrior culture, it's interesting to me that they follow the Ashla. They follow the light.
Yeah,
They don't follow the Bogan, which is, of course, the dark, which
yeah,
which of course the Bendu talks about starting in season 3, Jedi and Sith, the Ashla and Bogan. I'm the one in the middle, the Bendu.
yeah.
Fucking love that
I
guy.
mean, yeah,
But I think it's interesting. I'm thinking of like what's the other most prominent warrior people we know in Star Wars, like other than the Lasat. Well, I'm thinking the Night Brothers, who are definitely on the dark side.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty like there's a pretty broad spectrum of calling a fictional culture like warrior people. Like that can mean
Yeah, you're
any
right.
number of things with for different
Yeah.
cultures that have warrior traditions. But yeah, I don't think that the light side is necessarily inherently pacifist. But yeah, like
No, but
I thought it
to
was
have such
cool.
a
Sorry, continue.
I was gonna say no, but to have such a large emphasis on fighting specifically,
Yeah.
I mean, I think of the light side as we'll fight when absolutely necessary, but we'd
Yeah.
rather resolve things through peaceful arbitration.
I mean, when I hear honor guard and sort of what the
That's true.
highest, like the highest honor and the most highly regarded form of being a warrior for the
Is
Lasats is
protection.
the honor guard, which is like protecting the royal family and protecting the planet. So I don't see those things as being
And it is an honor guard. It's
inconsistent.
revolving around honor. It is revolving around
Yeah.
the concept of honor.
It's like how much of this is so, and this is another, that's another question, which is just we don't know to talk
Yeah.
about this part of the lore and to speculate. We don't know how much
And
of
there is, I will say,
warriorhood in
in
this society is sort of
in
ceremonial,
concordance in
you know?
concordance with your point, honestly, in concordance with your point, there's the idea of Busan Kira. When a Lasat was bested by a superior opponent in combat, they would give
Yeah.
them their weapon, which is explained by Callus in Droids in Distress.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's Spark of Rebellion. One of the first 2 episodes of Rebels. So actually,
Yeah.
now that I'm thinking about it, everything points to them being a more light-sided culture than freaking, what do you call it? Than the Night Brothers are to the Dark. But anyway, I feel like we've left a pretty big part of the episode out, and by which I mean, I think if we left this guy out, he would find some way to let us hear about it.
I mean, isn't that what he does all season long?
He does.
He finds a way to remind us that he exists,
That motherfucker
whether we
Hondo
want it or
Onaka.
not.
That motherfucker. My God, this guy.
Yeah, that's right.
He was in this episode far more than I remembered he was.
Yeah, he was just constantly like putting his foot in his mouth and getting the rebels in more
Hello,
trouble.
you arrived just in time, as I knew you would.
All because like he wants he wants his payday as he's like he's walking around with a giant box of money under his arm, like a giant box of credits, and he calls up the Empire because Ezra won't give him his finder's fee, basically. After also being like happy that Ezra was like no finder's fee. Like that is
We remember
peak Hondo.
Hondo
That
Onaka
is like
as
phenomenally scummy. For as kind of lovable as he is
we
in
remember
Rebels,
Hondo
that is
Onaka as
phenomenally scummy.
kind of softening up as like the friendly, like if a little bit scummy uncle.
Yeah.
No. That I don't know where we got that person. Like where.
I mean, that is him for
like,
most of it.
no,
Like
yeah,
for
but this
most of the
episode
season.
he is phenomenally like dickish. This
Yeah.
is a phenomenally dickish episode for him.
I mean, at least he does warn Ezra.
And
He didn't
believe
just call
me,
Ezra and say, "Hey, there's a stormtroopers on the way."
and
It
believe
doesn't matter
me,
who told them where you are. It may or may not have been me.
and
You know?
believe me,
Yeah.
I love it. But like, it's very funny.
No, yeah.
I find it like a reunion. I was right again.
Yeah. I love that Ezra's already like outgrown taking Hondo seriously. Like Hondo's like, "So where's my finder's fee?" Ezra's just like, there never was one. Like he doesn't.
But then there's also Ezra says the 4 most dangerous words you can ever say to Hondo.
Oh yeah, he does. That is true. Yeah.
We owe
I owe
you one. You never say that to Hondo. You never ever say that to Hondo. Saying that to as fucking Morrigan, not as Morrigan. Saying that to Vijago was dangerous enough. Saying you never say that to Hondo Onaka. You never ever say that to Hondo Onaka.
Yeah, absolutely.
My God.
Absolutely not. And I mean,
this guy, this motherfucker.
Yeah, so Hondo, he does tell Ezra where he tells Ezra where the refugees are. And then when he doesn't get the finder's fee, he calls the Empire. He warns Ezra. As the stormtroopers are closing in the hallways on this black market station on the planet of which name I forget as always. Nixus, yeah. Then he hacks the doors to cut off the stormtroopers and help the rebels escape, only to then fold again when he is captured by the troopers. Yeah, by the troopers. Yeah.
Let's not pretend he wasn't just about to be captured. Like he wasn't just captured. I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm not saying I sympathize with him. I'm saying like let's put this in context.
No, 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 you're right, you're right. I'm not trying to like over I'm just like, bro, pick like it's
Pick a
like
lane. Yeah, no, it's
pick a
very
lane,
funny.
like pick a side, pick a
He's
struggle, bro.
Hondo.
Like,
He's Hondo. He's the only Galaxy of Heroes character
yeah.
to not have a side.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if we're going off the video games, that's pretty accurate there. I mean, dude, you're like he's got to be like 60, like dude, he's old enough to be in a retirement home, but he's still running around trying to like trying to make one
How old
last
is
come
Hondo?
trying to make one last comeback. Like
We
he could
right
take that
down.
money and go like live on a beach somewhere. He
Yeah.
could go live on you go live on Scarif when it's nice before it gets blown up.
Before it gets blown to smithereens, but yeah. He could
Yeah.
live on Niamos, yeah.
You can live on Alderaan before when it's nice if you wanted to.
Yeah, before it blows
But
up.
but
Uh,
anyways, yeah.
yeah, but I was just gonna say, yeah. And then we get to, of course, the promise of Lyra-san will follow the fate of the three. The fool, simple and selfish, he would lead. The warrior, bold and bloodthirsty, to hunt the hope of tomorrow. The child to destroy him. We will find our home only if the child saves the warrior and the fool.
Pretty cool prophecy.
Yes. So,
Especially when they're like, "Psych, Zeb, you're the child." And they're like,
yeah.
"Psych, you're all the child, and we're all the fool, and we're all the warrior. Everyone is everything." But I do love the sort of little foreshadowing of Callus being the
Warrior.
warrior.
And then let me ask you something. We never learn who the fool is.
I, I've got some guesses.
You do? I'm interested to hear it.
Is Hondo not the fool? I thought that was the implication.
Oh, that makes
Like the
actually a lot of
fool led
sense.
you. Like I don't think they
The
said it
fool
exactly,
led
but
them. The fool
like
led them to Lyra. Yeah,
I'm
man.
pretty sure they were talking about Hondo.
Hondo Onaka, part of an ancient Lasat prophecy.
Yeah. We're all the
My God,
don't let him find out about that or you'll never hear the end of it. That's my advice
I
to the
was the
rebels.
fool in a
I
Lasat
was
prophecy, my friends.
I will say this. I know it's kind of like all these figures sort of everyone embodies these sometimes. We are all the fool. Some of us are more the fool than others, and Hondo is that more than the others.
Who's more foolish, the
If I
fool
may
or the fool
humbly
who follows
posit,
him?
if I may posit
Uh,
something, yeah.
Yeah. No, what I think actually is such a great line is when Shava says, "You're never one of these. In time, you become all of them," which
Yeah.
I think is so great. Like, yeah, we like to say that Zeb is just the child, or that Callus is just the warrior, or that Hondo is just the fool in this case, would be complete minimization. Yeah, they're all those roles in the moment where they need to be. Just
100%,
like
yeah.
we all slip into roles in and out of our lives, like the parent, the child, the warrior, the defender, the peacekeeper, whatever
Yeah.
it may be. We all slip into these roles. Like prophecies are liquid for a reason. Yeah. So we get to the imploded star cluster, which just looks beautiful. This entire part of the episode just is beautiful.
Oh,
The music is
everything
great.
about this. Yeah, everything about this part of the episode is phenomenal. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love this the
Yeah.
strings, the wailing chorus music. Like it's absolutely
Yeah.
enthralling.
Yeah.
It's
There's
really memorable.
yeah, there's some great stuff. Yeah. Here's something I want to ask you. Why was the conversation never had of okay, here is a planet that the Empire can't get to that we can. Why was the conversation never had of hey, could we use this Lyrasan as a base?
Probably because Zeb had to do some insane like alternative force mysticism fuckery just to get there.
Yeah.
If I had to guess,
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. I just wish the conversation would have been had. I'm not saying they should have used it. I'm saying like the fact that we didn't
yeah,
hear and they probably had it.
yeah,
I'm just like nitpicking the episode. Like the fact that we
yeah,
didn't hear
yeah.
like a conversation of, "Hey, couldn't we Tantalor this?"
I mean, I feel like the actual answer is
Is it would be
like
too convenient.
we're not supposed to get to that part of the season yet.
Yeah, we're
Like
not
we're
there
not this
yet,
is
but yeah,
the real reason is this is not what this episode is about.
yeah,
We're writing a
it,
different episode for that, so don't worry about it
yeah,
right now.
no,
But
absolutely,
yeah, it's a
but
little they could have, yeah. I don't
they
know.
could have addressed it. Yeah,
It didn't really
yeah.
bug me
No,
personally,
I
I
just
would I
had
would
that
say.
question, and I just wanted to talk about it briefly. But
Yeah.
yeah, I forgot there were already Lasat down there. I forgot that Lirasan
Yeah.
was where they originally came from. Which apparently I forgot about how Dave loves that thing where the species or practice originally comes from, because now he's done it 3 times. He did it
What are the
with
other two?
Typhon or Osis, depending on where you want
Uh,
to, where you want to count.
that was
Typhon or
adaptation
Osis.
from Legends, correct?
Yes, but he
For the
was the one.
Jedi?
Yes, but he was the one to specifically show both of them on screen for the first time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%.
And
Shout
then
out to him for that.
Peridia for the Night Sisters in Ahsoka, which he was the actual one to write that one.
Yeah. Which
So
is like another like yeah, that's kind of the same thing. Yeah, that's kind of the same thing actually. Like you think they're from this one planet. Psych, they're actually from this other planet that's like
yep,
really hard to get to and no one knows about it. And we're finding out about it for the first time now after they've
yep,
been wiped out of this other planet.
that's true. I didn't realize. Yeah,
All right. Two
wow.
strikes. Two strikes, Dave. Two strikes.
Look,
No.
Dave loves to do his thing with these mystical things, and
It's a fun
I'll give it to him. I'll absolutely give that to him.
it's a fun plot. It's a fun plot twist both times. Like
Yeah,
I'm not complaining. I'm just like
yeah. Y- You're tracking it.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have anything else for this episode?
I think in general, I want to talk about one of my favorite scenes, which is the scene in the bunk room, because this is Ezra. As much as we talk about found family, this episode is all the family really truly being there for Zeb. And it's one of those moments that just makes your heart swell to see, similar to how they all came together for Ezra in Legacy, despite knowing that if Zeb finds what he's looking for, I guess what the other Lasat are looking for in this case, like he might not return to them, but obviously they're going to do right by their friend and sort of family member no matter what, because that's what family does. And specifically in the book room, Ezra is Ezra kind of gives Zeb a little bit of tough love, saying, "Why are you, dude? Like, why are you flaking on why are you flaking on your people right now? Like, they need you. I know it's hard. I know it's indescribably painful and difficult to kind of step back into this world, but this is what you have to do." And I think what we see with what Zeb says, it kind of it brings into focus why he's so anti Lyrasan, anti everything to do with the prospect of hope for his people. And I think that's because not only does does he feel a tremendous amount of guilt and responsibility, but and feeling like he failed you to prevent the Empire doing what they did. But I think he to go back there or to acknowledge that there is hope is to sort of gosh, how do I phrase this? What am I what, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
To
It's
acknowledge
like
hope
he
is to
yeah,
acknowledge the possibility of losing it again. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if
And
that's
it's
where you were going, but
I
yeah,
was sort of going as well with he has sort of embraced to the fullest this the new reality and the family that he has, the fight that he's fighting, all of this it's completely new from Lasagna. Now he's a
yeah.
rebel. He's
He's
part
moved
of the
on
Ghost
from
Group.
Lasan
He's fighting the Empire. He's moved on, and to go back from there, to
to
go
this
back
whole
to
thing.
there, even if it mean like to at this point for him, it's probably easier. It's not that it's not worthwhile, but it's probably easier
It's
in many
easier to move
ways
on.
to just say there's no hope. We need to move on than it is to really to reopen those old wounds and to really countenance what was lost. Even if in doing so, as he does, he finds something that is sort of a silver lining or a an even better new beginning than the one that he was trying to create. So it's, I don't know. You feel for Zeb in this episode because he really feels responsible, even though he like Ezra says, like it's the Empire. What are you gonna do? He's not really
Yeah.
responsible, but yeah. And then and I think as well, I mean, if we want to talk about the Force mysticism aspect of this episode, I was fascinated by the way that Zeb almost uses the Force in this episode when he is in some way with the Ashla and this concept, he is tapping into the same power and connective energy that the Jedi are when he is steering the ship. And we even hear him say like, and this is something that I didn't remember, that kind of that made me think twice, was when he says like I can see the way. Like he is experiencing the Force despite not being like Force sensitive in how the Jedi think about it and how we think about it when we're talking about the Force. And we even see Kanan and Ezra like putting their hands on him, and like we see that energy flowing the same way that they do with Ahsoka when they're trying to figure out who Darth Vader is. And I mean I feel
Yeah.
like you're the resident like Force mysticism fan and expert here. How do you have anything to say, or do you
Well, it
feel some
plays
type of
into
way
this
about this?
idea. Well, it plays into this idea that Dave further expands in Ahsoka, and that was always true. But I think that Dave really wanted to solidify this with a lot of his works, because I think he thought people weren't getting it. Which, to be fair, people weren't. That the Force is not something that you just like Ryan Johnson has Luke say, and just like Luke says in The Last Jedi, the Force is not a power that you have. It's an energy field that connects you to everybody. That anybody can tap into it. The Force does not belong to the Jedi alone, Luke says in The Last Jedi. And I think that that is an important aspect of like, are they using the Force, or is this just the power of the belief in their customs?
Yeah.
And if and what's the difference? And does
Yeah,
it
where
matter?
like yeah,
It,
like
it, Indiana Jones says in Dial of Destiny, I've come to find that it's not so much what you believe in as in how much it is, as in how hard you believe it. And I
hmm,
think that that connects a lot here.
that's a good point. Yeah, I think for me, hmm, how do I articulate this? I think that that moment of sort of seeing Zeb use the Force, what we'll say, or tap into the Force in a really profound way, to be able to see a path through a heretofore impenetrable star storm. That for me, I really, it just brought back for me so much of the wonder and the awe of the Force that I remember as a kid watching the original trilogy for the first time, as I was being kind of introduced to the Star Wars movies for the first time, and that feeling and that reality of like we don't even know what the limits are. We don't even we don't even know, like, maybe sometimes belief is enough. The Force doesn't just choose you with midichlorians. This is someone choosing to believe, and in doing so, like, becoming a conduit of profound power and
Yeah.
connection. I just personally, for how I kind of personally view the Force and feel and experience Star Wars, I fucking love that moment when Zeb feels it, and when Zeb sees through the Ashla. That's one of my favorite moments, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of great mysticism in this episode. What do you think overall about this episode? And then we can go to the other
Oh,
two.
I thought this was a really fun episode. I think it's about time that, and not for the last time in this season do we get a great episode digging into Zeb. Yeah, I love this episode. I think it's very strong. I think that it's one of the many episodes that, despite this season, being so much longer than season one is, it doesn't feel like it ever drags or gets repetitive, because each episode is so focused on bringing out something essential about one of the members of this family, and I think this episode is no exception. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm a little less strong on this episode than you are. I like it just fine. I think it's good. I think it's my least favorite of the ones we have today, but it's not like I hate it or anything like that. I just think this was good. Like, yeah, sure. I'm very excited. I think it's mostly in comparison to maybe Homecoming, but I want to talk about the call because the call I
Oh yeah,
wasn't
let's
expecting the
let's
call
let's
to
fucking
hit
talk
so
about the
hard.
call.
The call hits
It's
hard.
it's such a kind of a sleeper episode. Then you go back and watch it. This was my second time going back and watching it this
I
year,
think this is 3 for me for the
and I
call.
was I was just like, damn, this is a fun, like the concept and the creativity of this episode, kind of like the Ashla and what we were just talking about with Legends of the Lasat. This is just sort of a blowing the doors off of what we know about the
Bill Wolkoff,
Force kind of
who wrote this
moment of an
episode,
episode.
Bill Wolkoff wrote the first 6, 7 minutes of this episode and then pressed the button on his keyboard that said vibe and just did that for the entire episode. And I
Yeah,
deeply respect that. I
yeah,
deeply, deeply respect that.
it's a really fun episode.
I think after Family Reunion and Farewell, obviously this episode hits harder, but after Ahsoka, this episode hits even harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things immediately off the bat I love about this episode is it knows its scale, which is micro. What's the problem in this episode? They need more fuel.
They're running out of
That's
gas.
it. That's it. They need more fuel. That's it. Nothing complicated.
Yeah.
No scheming imperial plots.
Yeah,
No, not even any weird force stuff or anything like that. Really, I mean, not
yeah,
yet. But like, they need fuel. They need gas. That's it.
yeah. Like the moment of this episode that I don't like is when they undermine that by saying, like, "Oh man, if we get this fuel, it'll be enough to supply the fleet for a year, like the entire fleet, because it's a super rare, valuable kind of fuel." Like, I don't think that's necessary. Like, a great episode, but like,
Yeah,
they
I
gotta they
can
gotta
see that.
fly they gotta fly the ship, and they gotta keep the heat and the lights on, like, regardless. Like,
I
that
can
that
see
is the
that.
rea that's the reality of, like, living on the fringes and
But
on
even
for the
that is
Empire.
like even when they widen it out, it's like, okay, we can power our very small fleet for like what, a week or so? Even that's not like huge. That's larger than the stakes we had before, but it's not even that much bigger.
They said, like, a year or something, though.
They said a year?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, well okay, maybe
I
that's a
I
little
can't, maybe
much,
not an
but yeah.
entire maybe not an entire year, but, like, a month, or they said some large, impressive unit of time. We're kinda like, "Wait, five barrels are gonna, like, holy crap, this is
Let
this
me
is some
see. I
potent
mean,
this is some potent stuff here." I
let
may
me
be I
check.
may be misremembering. This is, the coldest open, quite literally, in Star Wars Rebels. I'd just like to point that
But
out as well. I'll see myself out. I know when I'm
no,
I know when
that
I'm
was good.
involved.
That was very good.
I had to do it. I had to do it.
A full cycle.
A full cycle. So that's like what? Like, is that supposed to be a month? Sort of. I think it's a Star Wars month. Let me see.
I think that's supposed to be a year, but still, point standing. Point being, anyway,
Solar cycle of Coruscant. Yes, it's like a
yeah.
local. It's
So it's a year, but
it's a
still,
lo- it's a long
it's a
amount of
lot of
time.
time. It's a lot of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. One of the things I love about this episode, I will say, like, there's a comedic aspect of this episode that I appreciate, which is basically just Hera getting a massive vibe check about weird force shit.
I
Um,
love Petty Kanan in this episode. Is I would live and die for Petty Kanan. Like when he pops his head in and he's like, "Oh really? We're gonna track the Purgle? That's so interesting." Like
it's very funny. It is
he is like so
exceptionally funny.
done with Hera's hatred of the
Um,
Purgle, and he does
I
not
but
he
I
is
love the
pulling
exchange of
zero punches.
well, it's not the strangest thing we've ever done. Yeah, that doesn't make me feel better.
Yeah,
Hera Hera would be great at Star Wars in a Galaxy. But yeah, no, great cold open. Honestly, not a lot of better cold opens than Space Whales, which is just the episode. The episode is Space Whales.
yeah,
And God, I don't think any of us could have anticipated when this little episode came out how much Dave loved those space whales.
yeah. It's kind of cool because in retrospect,
I mean, to be
obviously
clear, who
now with the
wouldn't?
yeah, with the benefit of hindsight, we kind of are like, oh man, this is like an important episode. Like, these are like we introduced to the Purgle, Ezra's special
Yeah.
connection to them through the Force. At the time, this is sort of like just a an oddity,
Nobody
an
really cared
oddity
about this
episode.
episode at
Like
the
it's kind of
time.
like a
Nobody,
fun
everybody was wondering, like,
little
why do we even
side
need this
adventure.
episode?
Yeah,
And this
and I
episode
feel
is the
like
ultimate thing
yeah,
that taught us why never to underestimate anything that Dave and crew plan because
yeah,
it's all important. I mean, Lyra
yeah,
San is mentioned in the final episode of Rebels.
yeah,
Ryloth, obviously, we'll talk about because that's an intergenerational thing. We see Ryloth in Clone Wars, and then Bad Batch, and then Rebels, or Rebels then Bad Batch, if we're talking about in real world chronology. But yeah, no, old pilots. Hera says old pilot said it was the Purgil who inspired us to jump from system to system. I would love to see in James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi film or any tie-in related material. Like, I'd love to see Purgil or some of the first hyperspace jumps. I think that'd be really interesting.
oh, absolutely, yeah,
There's an element of biomimicry in this where like biomimicry is this idea of like humans being inspired to invent things related to
yeah,
nature. And there's specifically this element of like I don't know if you thought about this, but I thought of the ocean acting in Moana, in
mm,
those two films, like that it kind of has its own will, but like it doesn't like unless you're chosen by the ocean, like the ocean like giveth and the ocean taketh away in that
yeah,
series. And that's the same thing with the Purgils. Like the Purgils don't freaking care unless you're connected with them, which Ezra is, and then later in her own series, Ahsoka connects with them. Like the Purgils just do what the Purgils do. Nothing personal. It's just like they just go. Except for if you violate like something like if you violate their safety or something like that, like Yushin does, then Ezra's able to go, "Hey, Purgil, attack," and the Purgil are like, "Okay."
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think as well. I think regardless of even at the time, I think it would sell. We'd sell this episode on the rewatch at least with the sort of the increased or clarity and close eye of close reading of these episodes that can kind of bring. Admittedly, we sell this a little bit short to say this is just kind of a fun oddity sort of mid-season wacky episode. This really is to like I feel like this episode we learned so much about Ezra, and we once again sort of appreciate his character, not just in the sense of who he is as a character, but his character and his morals and his sort of radical among the crew, his relatively radical open-mindedness and empathy of defending the Purgles and reaching out and obviously using that power of connection that we know is sort of his hallmark. Dare I say a little environmentalist even of
Yeah, I think
Ezra in
so.
this
I
episode. Like there's definitely an overtone of like respect nature, you dorks.
I
Like
think
built
so,
into
but
sort of the
yeah, I think you can make that case. I think you can definitely make that case. Yeah, I guess this episode is just so incredibly heady to me that like something like environmentalism, I guess, just kind of slipped by me.
I mean, I'm blanking on the name of that one dude from Young Jedi Adventures.
Raxlow, fuck that guy.
This is no Raxlow episode,
No,
but
but no,
like
but I understand where you're
this whole idea
coming
of like
from.
the Purgle, we're doing it first, and then the humans are coming in, and the humans and the aliens, the civilization coming in, and you're trying to fight off the Purgle with guns. And even well-meaning, compassionate, conscientious people like
People.
Hera are like, sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah, no, I understand.
Like
But
you
go
know what I
ahead.
mean? Like even people
Yeah,
like that are like, oh, there's the Purgle are menaces and whatnot.
yeah,
Like it takes a different perspective to discover
yeah,
what parts of the story we're missing sometimes. And it's
yeah,
often in Rebels, it's often Ezra who brings that.
yeah. I forgot how. On a different note, I forgot how little we saw of Yushin, who's the boss for the mining guild. I thought we saw way more of him, and I was actually quite shocked that he was eaten by one of the Purgils.
Yeah, I didn't even really
Um,
remember his name in this episode. Like
I think only because of like comparing stuff for Epic Conversations, I remember his name was Yushin. But
spoiler alert.
I don't think I'd prepped a question for him in a long time. But anyway, still,
Yeah.
no, there's just like so many great like every time like the Purgil's eyes light up with like hyperspace in their eyes, I just think that's such a
Yeah.
beautiful and vivid picture.
Yeah.
I just think it's so beautiful. And there's so much like great lore built out around them in this episode, of course, because they're introduced here. Ezra says the crater wasn't their home, just one stop on a long journey. And now, which is crazy to think about, is we know where that journey ends because
Yeah.
the Ahsoka and Huyang hide in the Purgil graveyard above Peridia. That's where they go to die.
Yeah.
They die peacefully above the Night Sister planet for some reason. But yeah, no, I think there's something so interesting about that. The rest of the crew is just kind of reacting like they react to when an ever weird force shit happens, which does quite a bit. The idea of like you were talking about environmentalism, I was thinking about like the philosophies of the Jedi, where by his own connection to the Purgil, Ezra is unknowingly tapping into a lot of old Jedi philosophies about the importance of protecting life and its sanctity across the galaxy. Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
he is acting more Jedi than he has throughout quite a bit of the series, just because he has this just strong and intimate connection with these Purgils.
Yeah.
And I think that's really beautiful. I think there's a lot of this
Agreed.
episode, like I
Agreed.
think the sound design of this episode and the visuals of this episode are just really beautiful. I don't think I have a lot to say about this episode, even though it's my favorite of the three, just because there's so much of this episode that isn't meant to be explained. It's meant to be felt.
That's a very good
Um,
way of putting it. I mean, it's like you said, it's a vibes episode. It's it's a beautiful it's a beautiful concept.
Sometimes they just
It's
want to create a tone poem of an
yeah,
episode. Like that's what The Child is, that second episode, The Mandalorian,
yeah,
where half of it is just shots of Din and Grogu just
yeah.
walking places,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
just like
beautiful.
yeah, it's just exploring like this new concept of the Purgle and sort of
Yeah,
adding adding depth to complicating the idea of civilization and sort of or civilization as we know it, humanoid. I guess for our
yeah,
purposes, like it's complicating the notion of like the human space flight. I think
yeah,
it's yeah. I mean it's if to me it's not hard to see the parallels of like assume that you're assume that you're kind of the smart ones at your own risk on a species wide
yeah.
civilizational level.
That's
Yeah,
true.
it's just a gorgeous episode too as
It
well. Like
really is.
to your point, it is a gorgeous episode.
It just it's just it like there's such a sense of like even in the violent parts there's such a sense of peace in this episode. There's such a sense of we are trying to arrange the natural order of things and let like that's what it is. It's the empire is disrupting the natural order of things. Like literally like
Yeah,
not the natural order of things like in a political sense, like literally
yeah,
the natural order of things.
yeah, yeah. It's like they
which
try to kill the Purgle and they take away the Purgle's energy source, and then they will
yeah.
if they kind of succeed.
Yeah, and there's like an
Yeah,
anti-lifeness to the Empire, like where they're
yeah,
just like so destructive in their capacity and their ideas and their
yeah,
ideology of like you cannot provide anything for living things
yeah.
to grow and thrive. And I think there's something so great to that.
Well, I think that the need for one of the messages of Star Wars and the commentary that Star Wars often likes to provide is that the need, especially with the Empire, is that the need for the need for power over the need for power over others, whether it's people, environments, objects. It's like the Obi-Wan line in Twin Sons that he says to Maul. But it's sort of antithetical to the flourishing of all all life in the
Yeah.
end. And we can look at this through a governmental lens, through an economic lens of capitalism. We can see how the two intersect. We could talk about like a commentary on the neoliberal world order even. But in any case, the empires need to dominate just will like inevitably destroys all life, and it's only after everything else is destroyed that it becomes apparent that it's self-destructive, and
Yeah.
that's why it has to be stopped by like an outside force. I feel like that's sort of part of what that's part of what this episode is saying, because I mean, and this entire show we continuously see this.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have anything else to talk about this episode?
Not really. It's a vibe. Like
It's a
you said
vibe.
it. It's a
It's a whole
vibe.
vibe.
It's a whole
Um,
vibe. The Purgle are a
let's
whole vibe.
let's go to Homecoming. Let's go
Yeah,
to
because you know
Homecoming.
what's not a vibe? What's not a vibe?
Family
How
estrangement.
how Cham treats his daughter when she looks to him for love and support and guidance. That is not a vibe. We got to talk about it because it's not cool. I know he comes
It's
around, but it's not cool. It's not cool. It makes me mad. It makes
Chem
me
loses
sad.
himself. Chem loses himself, and we you know
Not in the good way. Not in the Eminem way. He doesn't lose himself in the
no,
Eminem way. He loses himself in the
not in the
bad way.
music. The moment he doesn't own it. Yeah,
He can't let it go.
he yeah no he can. Yeah,
So yeah, where do we start with this
well
episode?
I think it's a really underrated cold open. I love. I think I've talked about this in notes, maybe for a theme between themes or something like that. Yeah, it was. I think it was with Brooke. We did this episode for a theme between themes episode, and there's such a great line beginning of this episode. Father, we need to talk. And I love
Mm,
that. I love how Vanessa Marshall delivers that line because there's so much in there. There's and I love you and I miss you. And there's also like but I also don't I all love you and I miss you, but I also don't forget why I left.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
forgetting why I haven't talked to you in years.
Mm,
And I really think that like it's not like Harold doesn't love her father. I think she does. I think she loves the person her father used to be. Obviously, since the bad bat when we talked about Cham and Eleni, I think obviously the loss of Eleni was huge for both of them. I think that like Eleni was a like she wanted Ryloth's freedom as bad as Cham did, but where he had the passion and the ardentness and all that kind of stuff, she had a realism to her. She had a like she was a very calm and like not well spoken, like very like she was very firm in
yeah,
how she conducted herself. And I think losing that really impacted him. And I think that we're there's a lot of Cham that reminds me of Saw in a lot of ways, actually. There where I think both of them just kind of get tunnel vision. They both get so involved in their own struggles that they can't really think or do anything besides that. And I think that there's a real lesson in there about losing yourself
yeah.
in not the music or the moment, but in in whatever struggles you're facing. That yeah, they're important, but you cannot let them consume you. You cannot let yourself become a vessel of the struggle.
Yeah. I mean, for Cham, it becomes more important than even Hera. And I mean, I empathize with for him, this is bigger than just subjugation because it was subjugation under the separatists. Now it is the twin barbs of betrayal and then
Yeah.
even more suffering. How he
Yeah.
like humiliation at the hands of the very soldiers and the very army pretty much who one day turned from liberators into occupiers. I think I mean in Legends a lot of this stuff gets a lot darker even, but like we know how the galaxy treats and views Twi'leks like they are like a and this is like I don't know
They're an oppressed
like
people.
they're
They're an
they're
oppressed
called us
people.
like they get called a slave species like this is bigger than just
Yeah. But
the tyranny of the empire
yeah.
in a
Yeah.
political
But I also think that
realm.
there is such like a again, Cham is not seeing the bigger picture, and like we can talk about the bulk of this episode where with this debate between the two of them. This is what's wrong with you, child. You hold on to the wrong things. Devote your time and efforts to lost causes. What a waste. I am not wasting my life. I help people. I lead ships into battle. I am part of something bigger. I was looking up this quote and I forgot that this was from Captain America, where Dr. Erskine says so many people forget that the first country the Nazis invaded was their own. Where yes, the imperial oppression of Ryloth is horrible. It's horrifying, and I never say otherwise. But it's not unique to Ryloth. Imperial oppression on Ryloth is imperial oppression on Lothal, is imperial oppression on Gorman,
Yeah.
is imperial oppression on Lasat, is imperial
I
oppression
also
everywhere.
I also
Injustice.
think
There's that famous quote also by there's this other famous quote by Dr. Martin Luther King. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And
yeah.
that of course, and I'm not saying that focusing on system by system is is not important because of course that's what the final season of this damn show is Ezra just focused
Yeah.
on freeing, but he's not pulling valuable resources from other play. He's not betraying the fight everywhere just to fight his small corner. He is working. He is not trying to willingly sabotage the fight other places. He fights all the
Yeah.
time other places. Cham, it's all about Ryloth. He says as much.
Yeah.
He says where is it? He says like
I don't care about it. He
I
says
don't
I
care
just
about
care about
everyone. I
Ryloth.
care
Yeah.
only about Ryloth.
Yeah. And
And
I mean, yeah. And I mean again, like from the perspective of someone living their life on Ryloth, like that doesn't I'm not like he screws over, he screws over the rebels and he does what he does. From his perspective, like this started before the Empire. And I think if we want to talk about political allegories, I think like what is happening on Ryloth is like distinctive from what is happening on the em to the under the Empire, like to people on a planet like Coruscant, for example, where Ryloth is clearly meant to be like a someplace that's like a colony, like it has been subject to
yeah,
imperialism and colonialism not in the same way as as distinct from like a fascist or authoritarian government like turning on its own interior
Yeah.
borders.
But but at
I
the same
see
time,
I see that in the Clone Wars very clearly.
yeah. But at
So
the
I
same
think
time,
that
Ryloth I don't think is unique in the imperialist
it's not
colonialist.
unique in yeah, it's not unique among worlds because obviously we see that allegory and we see that historical real life like inspiration a lot of places in Star Wars. I just think that is what Ryloth,
Yeah.
represents if we look at the way that like, the way that the species the people are racialized and exoticized in the slavery and they talk about like the
Yeah.
spices and the goods and everything like it like the same way that like that for me loops into like history about the commodity the global commodities world starting with talking about
Like
like the Spice Islands and shit like that.
yeah. But like it's like talking about like Togrutas, for example. Togrutas go through a lot of the same things
Yeah,
in the Clone Wars as well. Like
yeah,
again the I'm not trying to
yeah,
devalue Ryloth's plight because Ryloth's plight is immense.
yeah,
I'm simply trying to say that
yeah,
understandably, Cham is centering and just basically laser focusing only on Ryloth's plight, where Ryloth is not the only planet that's
yeah,
faced
yeah.
that.
Yeah, well, he does.
Um,
Yeah, he doesn't see the value in like
yeah,
connecting with the broader rebellion because for
which I
him,
think which I
the
think is so
rebellion
interesting,
like was
honestly.
always happening on
Yeah,
Ryloth.
but I think it's interesting that in this case, because this episode, of course, is a lot about the political things, but it's also a lot about family. And I think it's
Yeah,
interesting and about like generational change. And I think it's so interesting that because usually I think in a lot of stories, including in Star Wars, would be the other way around, where the child would be focused on whatever small thing they're thinking of, and the parent would have to encourage them to see the bigger picture. But no, it's the child convincing the parent to see the bigger picture in this case. It's the child who has grown up and learn to see the larger struggle of the galaxy under the empire. Anywhere you went, there was oppression, and the parent who is stubbornly fighting the same fight as they were 25 years ago. And I'm not saying that that fight didn't need to be fought. I'm saying that they didn't see the larger connections. They didn't see, and I think there's some really interesting ideas behind that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and then the betrayal happens, and it hurts. It really hurts. I think that there's something so visceral about it. Like especially after that heated argument where it felt like Cham and Hera had gotten all their emotions out at each other,
yeah.
but the betrayal afterwards just really hurts.
I mean, it just shows like where his priorities lie,
Yeah,
and it's not with like it's not with his daughter necessarily. Like for him, like big like the cause is bigger even than his family, his kids. Like that's a difficult thing
yeah, it
to
is.
countenance, especially when it means like kind of like risking like destroying even further your relationship with your kid when it seems like what happened was obviously they had their disagreements, they had their differences in like what they prioritized. The context that we're getting here is sort of Hera left to fight a bigger fight. She left because she wanted to be a pilot as well. She found her way to doing this other stuff,
And then
and Cham
and
just couldn't
said,
stand that.
and as
It
Hera
wasn't that
says,
Hera wanted to be
the
estranged, just that
rebellion is no
Cham.
different, but either you couldn't see that or you didn't believe in me,
Mm,
which then takes it personal. And I think that's just so like there it's such a well written episode, and I think that there is so much. Like, I think tackling their estrangement, both personally and in their tactics on fighting the Empire, is such a smart move. And I think it's done just really deftly in this episode, where you can feel all of the hurt between them. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
think this
absolutely.
is a Stephen Melching episode. Yeah, Melching is so great. Melching always writes good episodes. Yeah, no, I love Melching as a writer. He's great. But yeah, no, I think there's just something so raw and just really meaningful about the way that Hera expresses herself. Of course, we have the fun fact Vanessa Marshall has talked about, like hearing people from the South talk and people from other places talk when they're with their family and when they're like caught up in passionate arguments with their family, like slipping back into
Yeah.
their old accents. And that's what Hera does here, where she slips back into like a French-ish Ryloth accent, which I think is very cool. But I also like that they get to have their cake and eat it too at the end. I love like that both sides leave happy. That
Yeah.
that Cham gets to blow something up and that they get the
Yeah.
carrier.
Yeah. Because sometimes that's how it ends. Sometimes it's possible. You just gotta
Yeah.
put aside your egos and think outside the
Yeah.
box.
Which I
You
think
know?
is all which also ties into Andor very well with a lot of their things about like rebellion and infighting and stuff like that, where like once they put aside their differences, they are able to make a real like they're able to score another major W against the Empire. And yeah, it's the only other thing I got to say about this episode is it's really nice to see Numa, and it's nice to see Gobi again, but it's really nice to see Numa grown up and doing her own thing.
Yeah.
I would have loved to hear a little chat with Kanan and Numa about how great Obi-Wan Kenobi was, because they both looked up to him as a kid in very real ways, but Numa got rescued by him, and Kanan probably saw him a few times here or there and stuff like that. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like her be like the yeah. I feel like I don't know. I'm a big Boyle and Waxer fan. I love the Ryloth arc in the Clone Wars, so it's especially for that reason.
Yeah,
If they could
absolutely.
if they could see her now, I'm sure they would see like a couple of proud uncles or something. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think that's it for like I think that's everything I have for this episode. What do you think? Is there anything else? Oh, actually, I have something else for this episode, which is just that great closing. You're like your mother. She was once a dreamer too, but I learned to be a
Mm,
leader by watching you. They get a reconciliation. Well done, Captain Syndulla. To Kevin Kiner's rousing, to the Kiners rousing Hera Syndulla theme. Like,
yeah.
it's great stuff.
It's a beautiful moment.
Beautiful
Beautiful
moment,
moment.
and
You
then
love to
an
see it.
iconic shot with the all of the Ghost crew at the end of the
Yeah.
episode.
That was
Yeah, I
like the
really
okay, we need a shot for the trailer moment.
we
But
need a shot for the teaser. Save it
it's
for the teaser,
earned.
everybody.
Yeah. It's earned though. Like it's
Oh,
earned
it's
though in this
incredibly earned.
episode.
It's very earned.
Not trying to say
Yeah.
it's forced
No, it isn't.
because I don't feel like it
Um,
is. Yeah.
and I love those shots anyway, so I don't care. Yeah. Anything else for this episode?
Gosh. No, I think that's it. This is another awesome episode, I think. Like I'm a big fan of all three of those. They're all kind of episodes that you might not you don't necessarily, at least for me, they might not come to mind immediately when you think about season two and you think about the very best moments of this season. But you go back and you watch them. At least I found myself thinking, man, this is such a fun like well-rounded and complete feeling season of TV. I really think that I I think that some of the sort of the kid show slander and the animation slander kind of gets this season taken down a notch from how it should be, how it maybe could be viewed and appreciated by a lot of fans, even people who give the later seasons a lot of time of the day. So yeah, these are all fantastic episodes in my book. I enjoyed all of them. Probably the most I ever have on this rewatch. I was very appreciative.
Yeah, no, I liked all these three. I think the Call was my favorite, but I like Homecoming and Legends of Lasat great as well. I think that's going to be it for this episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. Next week, we are going to be taking a break from Star Wars Rebels to do a special episode, Star Wars Opinion 6. Jacob and I are going to bring 5 Star Wars opinions questions each, and we're going to answer them. We're going to have some fun talking Star Wars. And then we'll get back to Star Wars Rebels in later weeks. I think that we're going to have an episode next week, and then I think we're going to be off for, I think, 2, maybe 3 weeks after that. So it's going to be a bit of a slow season for In the Galaxy, but then in the fall, we're going to ramp back up. Yeah, I think that's going to be it for this episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. You can follow us. You can listen to us everywhere your podcasts are. If we're not there, email us swinagalaxy@gmail.com. You can follow us at inagalaxypod.bsky.social on BlueSky, at inagalaxypod on Instagram. You can follow me everywhere at my link tree, linktr.ee/_OGFan327. If we hope you all enjoyed the Hyperspace Gauntlet too. We had a ton of fun doing it. It was great. We're filming another Eva Conversations match, probably as this episode's coming out. We're filming it. Nikki Kumar versus Buck O'Brien, and we're very excited to do that. But I think in the meantime, all there's left to say is, may the force be with you.
Always.